That morning, everyone on the news was desperately trying to convince everyone of the existence of some sanity in the world and that things would shortly be back under control. But it was never very persuasive because they kept cutting to the cops barricaded inside the station house, eating donuts and watching the news, and clicking their tongues, saying, "It's terrible, somebody ought to do something about that." Lots of pundits and talking heads were telling us that the previous night was the worst part, and it was over. I climbed to the roof of my house and looked towards the south. I had this sick feeling that this was the beginning, not the end. That feeling was absolutely accurate. That was just the tip of the iceberg of what was coming. I gave my wife a gun, locked the front doors, and drove to the supermarket as soon as it was open, and found myself fighting dozens and dozens of people at the doors to get inside and raid the place for as much as we could cart away. I got it right this time, and I bought what I thought would be serious provisions. Powdered milk, dry staples like beans and corn, canned meats, 30-liter spring water jugs. There was a serious dearth of cashiers, and I heard the manager say that lots of people would not be coming in at all. There was a kind of electricity in the air, like before a storm. Everyone wanted to get home with stocks and cocoon themselves. Some guy was trying to argue with me over a big pack of D-cell batteries that I found behind the empty display case. I kept staring at him until he shut up and went away. One really old codger had a radio with an earpiece, and he was muttering something about the looting starting in earnest while he was waiting in line with me. I didn't know what he was talking about at the time. I waited at the gun shop for 30 minutes trying to buy a few boxes of ammo, but the atmosphere there was very violent and utterly strange. There were lots of guys trying to buy guns off people waiting in line because the gun shop owner had reminded them of the 30-day waiting periods they had voted for in referendum and told them they could apply for a permit but would not be taking a gun out of the shop. These guys were begging for guns to protect their families in these pathetic, reedy voices it broke your heart to listen to. Just about then, a station wagon filled with black youths drove by playing some ass-ugly rap music. Everyone in line was ultra tense, thinking they were going to do a drive-by on all the white gun owners waiting in line. The wagon pulled off down the street and finally vanished. I gave up waiting and headed back to the house. Luckily, I had bought a little ammo the week before the riots. When I got home, I immediately drilled holes for security crossbars on the front and back door and mounted a 2x4 on each to hold the door if somebody was trying to force it. Then I turned on the TV again. The illusion that the dawn would bring sanity was completely dispelled. There were crowds bigger than Bible epics filling the parking lots of all megastores on La Cienega, and they were stealing everything that was not tied down. Anybody watching the news could see the majority of all of them were the new Mexican enrichers, not poor, downtrodden, disaffected blacks. These guys who were operating leaf blowers for the wealthy the day before were taking advantage of the chaos to show their true colors, and were running rampant as animals once they knew the law was not going to show up. They were systematically stripping every single retailer to the west shoreline of anything bigger than a thumbtack, and they were doing it brazenly right in front of television cameras hovering overhead off helicopters. It was mesmerizing just to watch them swarming into the shopping centers and emerging like little ants loaded down with boxes. Before I knew it, the time had slipped by and it was almost noon. I'll put the rest down as soon as I get a chance about what was going on by that afternoon.